All right, hello everybody. Welcome aboard. My name is Aijia, and I have my awesome colleague Irene also on the call, and they will be our moderator of today. So this workshop is the Path to Psychology International Student version. And you see the little sunglasses and smirk because I'm pretty proud of being an international student. I feel like that's something I've always been able to gain a lot of cross culture perspective. And also, I would love to share my experiences to you based off that. So let's start. Irene, do you want to go ahead, unmute yourself, and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for this lovely getting started for us, Ida. So yes, I am Irene. I am an international student from China. I use they them pronouns. So my journey in America started when I came to the States. College, which is a liberal arts college in Western Massachusetts, to get a bachelor's degree. So over there, I volunteered in a research lab in psychology. Oh, my degree is in psychology and data sciences, but most of my research experience is in psychology. Um, so over there, I started my research journey, and then in my sophomore year, I realized I am more interested in suicide prevention. So I found there's this awesome lab at Harvard. So I basically just emailed them and said, "Can I join you guys as a volunteer?" They said, "Great." So I went over there and I volunteered in another lab as well. So overall, I worked in three labs as research assistant. And after I graduated, I worked as a data analyst slash study coordinator at McLean Hospital, which is a psychiatric hospital in Boston area. So over there, I worked for 2 years as a postbac research assistant. And currently, I am a clinical psych PhD student at the University of Notre Dame. So yeah, so that's my journey.
Great, thank you so much, Irene. So, about myself, my name is Aijia, and I'm an international student from China as well. I graduated with a bachelor's and master's in psychology from Stony Brook University, and also volunteer at three labs there. After I graduate, I work as a research program coordinator at Hopkins, and then mainly did substance use research back then. However, currently I am in the field of suicide research. So if you have question about changing fields, I can also answer that. And I am studying clinical psychology as a PhD student at Rutgers University. And that's some brief information about us. And just a little disclaimers about this workshop. So neither Irene or I are immigrant lawyers, so we do not provide any legal advice here. And this workshop only represents mainly my perspective. And please connect with your international colleagues and collect more perspectives as you prepare for your journey. Also, we're only talking about a few options here in the field of psychology in the US. There are many, many options that we will not cover for the sake of time. And also there are a lot of opportunity outside of US as well. And we can touch briefly on that at the end of the session. All
Just
right.
sorry, just quickly, some housekeeping items. So, we're very excited to be here to share some of our perspectives with you. And just a reminder that because we'll cover a lot of information in this session, that we ask that you ask your questions in the QA session. So, at the bottom, like besides the chat that you can chat with everyone, there's also a button for Q&A. So over there, you'll be able to ask your questions, and there should also be a function that allows you to upvote someone's question if you share the same question or would like that answered. So over there, so I will be monitoring the QA session, and we'll have around 15 minutes at the end to answer some of those QA questions. So if you have some questions, please feel free to put in there and feel free to upvote other people's question. We'll try to pick the questions that are relevant for as many people as possible. So, and also this session will be recorded. So if you decide to share anything personal or decide to keep your camera on, it's totally up to you. But just to keep in mind that this will be recorded and shared publicly. That's all.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Irene. So, after hearing all of that, I know Irene mentioned that we will actually present a lot of information here. So, let's first take a deep breath with me. Whew. So, we'll cover a lot of roadblocks for international students considering our immigration status, and I will provide my perspective on ways to work around them. Meanwhile, it's very easy to feel like we are less competitive compared to local students, and also sometimes grad school application and job hunting could be seen as competitions. So when you have that stress out moment, please always take deep breath. We will make it. And please reach out for me and Irene for question and help. We will be here for you. And also, I want to remind you our personal backgrounds and experiences are invaluable. So, although we can't change the system by one click, I hope you learn how to showcase yourself through this workshop. All right, so first I want to jump on adulting. The reason why I want you to think about your goals here is as an international student, we want to have a clear trajectory set up moving forward. So I personally break up some goals by three main perspectives. First of all, is career goals. So think about what kind of career you want. Do you want to work with patients, clients? Do you want to deliver assessment, therapy? Do you love teaching, mentoring? Do you love research? Yada, yada. And the second category will be lifestyle goals. So, do you want to stay in the US or do you rather work in your home country? And also, do you like writing grants? Or also, do you prefer stable schedule or do you want a flexible schedule? The third category will be personal goals. Well, these this link to your personal preference a little bit more. So what's your relationship status? If you're currently in a long distance relationship, do you want to be with your partner? Do you prefer to move there or do you prefer to have your partner over here? And do you have thoughts about having kids or having your family moving to US? So the sum of all of the goals above can lead to different options of grad school and job opportunities. And here are some very, very simplified examples. I'm not going to go super in depth, but I basically break down by love grant writings or not. If you do love grant writing, it seems like faculty positions will be more in your favor. If you don't like grant writing, there's another sea ocean of careers that you can pick from. However, we always need to go back to our essential need, which is immigration status. If you want to stay in the US, maintaining a visa or immigration status is the most important thing. And let's introduce some different kind of visa. So for our full-time student visa, we have F1/J1. And we also have something called H1B, that's employment visa, which is not related to student visa. For F1 or J1 student, you'll be able to work full time during your degree or before you finish your degree or after your degree. So that's something we call CPT or OPT. For CPT, if you are a student visa holder, you can work part-time within your institute during the study program in the US. For OPT, you can work full-time before you complete the study program or after the completion of the program in the US, also within your institute only. So you're only oh, sorry, for OPT, it's related to your major only. So, such as if your major is in psychology, you'll be allowed to work with anything related, but definitely not in a physics lab or a chemistry lab. And there is some distinction between STEM OPT versus non-STEM OPT, and I will get a little bit detail in depth later. Mainly based on what I said, you can come to the US by two paths. One is coming to US or currently in the US as a student, which applies to most of you based on the survey we administer. So for current student, concern is more about, first of all, how to find a position to work legally and get more exposure to research and clinical work after graduation. And the second concern will be more how to make yourself a good candidate or competitive and a candidate for the grad program. And we can talk about it later in the workshop. Some people might come to US as an employee using H-1B visa, and this applies to people who don't plan to come into a program but want an employment opportunity first. And I want to touch some questions that I received in the registration survey. So a lot of people were asking if it's possible to come directly as a postbac research assistant or research coordinator. So based on our knowledge, it seems like those positions are extremely rare because having H-1B does require sponsorship from your employer, and that costs money, time, and also legal services. And if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to us after the workshop. We talk about some goals and immigration status, and why are those connected? So our goals will guide us to invest in experiences, choose degree programs, choose mentor, and also most importantly, writing your personal statement or statement of purpose. However, for international students, there's another layer because we are bounded by our immigration status and we have relatively limited option. Also, the stake is pretty high for each decision we make, so we really need to think through our plan. So I have a little example here. Let's say you want to work full-time in the US, but you enroll into a program that only allows you to work 1 year after graduation. Then you probably need to strive for H-1B visa after that 1 year. Or you probably want to choose a position that provides you with H-1B while it might not be the best fit for your interests. All right, so let's dive right in about psychology PhD programs. Some basic facts. You do not need a master's degree to apply for PhD program. Some people might think about, oh, if I have a master's degree, maybe I will be more competitive. So that really varies based on your case. Some people get into a program that has a thesis, and that will be a big boost of your resume or your profile in general. But let's say if you're going into a clinical or a counseling psychology program, as a master's student, that would not be too much of a good addition to your PhD application because for the next fact, PhD student is mainly about research and it's a 4 to 6 years commitment, which is a very time consuming one. Also, for clinical psychology PhD, other than research, you have additional flavor, which is clinical work. And PhD programs are usually funded. That means you might receive tuition remission and also stipend. However, the package does vary from program to program, and we will touch about that later in the workshop as well. Unfortunately, international students are not eligible for federal fellowships such as the National Science Foundation Fellowship which makes it hard to secure the funding by yourself. Because based on my understanding, a lot of local students were able to get NSF before grad school so that they have more opportunity to really choose which lab they want to jump in. So this option is not available for us, but it is what it is. And some states require you or the program to pay international student fee, especially in the state school. According, like based on my knowledge right now, I believe some programs already cover that, so you don't have to pay for it. However, just be mindful that this might be something that require another layer of financial needs. So many PIs are actually doing similar work across branches. I know some people are really interested in topics like mental illnesses or like such as treating, suicide or studying suicide among adolescents or among young adults. So if you're interested in certain topics, it's very, very likely that somebody outside of clinical psychology are doing the exact same research. So let's say you're a research oriented person. You don't have to only apply for clinical psychology program. You can also try developmental, educational, school psychology, or even cognitive psychology, neuropsychology. And considering there are also other areas beyond psychology, such as public health, social work, or even nursing. Um, Such as for suicide research, a lot of professors or faculty members in the field of public health are doing very, very similar research along my line. So I really hope you can expand your option a little bit, considering for us, our options are already limited. Before you apply, it's good to take a moment to think about, are you ready for it? And I'm sure this is a question for a lot of people already. However, some of you are actually asking, do I have a good enough profile to be accepted? So that's a question that basically nobody can answer because that's mostly out of our control. However, readiness, although it's very subjective, we somehow or at some degree have control over it. And based on my perspective, I want to provide you some of the indicators. And you can, based on each of them, you can see if you're ready to apply for grad school. Indicator number one, you have ability to define a key research interest in a complete sentence. This is very essential to your application because you will find mentors based on that, and also you need to write your statement of purpose based on your research interests. And basically, once you get into a program, you will build your career of this topic. And how to find your key research question. I have a really simplified method here. So basically, you want to find independent variable, dependent variable, and population and methods. Basically, that's my research interest on the screen. So I'm interested in studying how social cultural factors impact the experience and communication of suicide and depression among minoritized adolescents using intensive longitudinal design. So you can see the color coding indicated which part belongs to which. I want to remind you that although my research interest is pretty specific, there are some elements are flexible, such as for some labs that work with mainly LGBTQ plus minoritized adolescents, I can tailor more to LGBTQ plus population. If some labs are studying such as Black, Latinx youth, I can also tailor my interest to that side. So do be careful to leave enough space to be flexible because we are applying for a lot of different labs and not all of them are studying necessarily that one specific variable. And it's not necessarily the question to pursue for the rest of your life. However, again, if you use this research interest to apply for grad school, it is very likely that you will work on this question for the next 4 to 6 years. Application readiness indicator number 2. You have research experiences at scale. Common knowledge for a lot of us. So working in a research team can expose you to different kinds of tasks, including receiving training, recruitment, data collection, data management, literature review, writing, data analysis, etc., etc. If you're in a lab right now, it's very likely that you're working on some of the tasks or all of the above. However, do keep in mind that it's not only about quantity of the task that you're doing, but it's about quality. You want to receive good training and good exposure into one task, such as if you're doing risk assessment, you want to make sure you actually understand the underlying theory and also you're familiar with going through the risk assessment to the degree that you can deliver it and write an SOP saying that um, you're familiar with it. And your exposure to all the research tasks above may lead you to the next step, which is independent research. And this is a question that I got asked a lot, like, do you need publication to get into a grad program? So hold on a second, I will talk on that. Indicator number 3, you should be able to conduct independent research as like before you get into a graduate program. So there are multiple ways to demonstrate your ability of conducting independent research. First of all, thesis. For some of us, this is more accessible because based on my knowledge, I know a lot of countries require students to write a thesis even for their bachelor's degree. And also your psychology writing class and stats class paper count. Like, don't feel like they're fake paper. I know some of us do generate fake paper. Do generate fake data for the paper, but also you went through the whole process. You conceptualize the question, you're able to do some level of analysis, and you eventually wrote up the whole result. So I hope you can be proud of what you wrote and also take that as an independent research experience. Finally, publications. So publications do count. However, it's in less of the, if you have relevant publication, that will boost up your score. However, if you have publication that's less relevant, I'm not sure how helpful that will be. Also, such as if you're on a manuscript, but you are a 5th author or you're anywhere after 2nd author, you will have to state very clearly about what roles you play in this manuscript or in this project. And also each lab apparently have very different culture. This publication opportunity is less accessible for some of us. So don't panic if you don't have publication, it is fine. Simply having all of the above on your CV is great. However, it is more important to form a very clear narrative in your SOP about your roles in the project, what you learn from them, and how they inspire you to pursue research in grad school. All right, I actually answered my own question. And it's more publications, the better? Not necessarily. Again, your contribution to the program really matters more than the number of publications. Indicator number 4, you have good recommenders who can speak for your potential as a grad student. Just a reminder that letters of recommendation are weighted differently by PIs, considering there's an inflation in letter of recommendation, meaning that people usually and that on average get great letters. So it's very hard to tell how, like, to tell the difference just based on letters of recommendation. However, it doesn't hurt to get great letters. So still go find good people to write your letter. You want at least 3 letters of rec for a PhD application, and I really hope all of them can speak about you as a person in general. The ideal situation is all of 3 will be from your research mentor. However, I myself don't have 3 research mentors. So one of them actually spoke on my social justice work. So please at least have 2 of your letters speak on your research, and that one another one will be pretty flexible. Always make a list of people who build professional relationship with you and also can speak on you highly. And if you don't have enough recommenders, please considering going for a master's degree or a research assistant job or research coordinator job first. And we will circle back later. Indicator number 4, you're ready to get broke for grad school. That's a very, very important thing that people don't talk about, is the finance perspective. You do need to budget for grad school starting from the application. Application fee is like a big chunk of dollars already. However, for some of us, we have transcript that's from non-English country, non-English speaking country. So you also need to save money to have the transcript be evaluated and translated. You also have to pay for GRE if you decide to take them. So application fee range from $40 to $95 each program for international students. There are some programs that are free to apply, such as University of Loyola at Chicago. So just as a reference point, I myself spent like around $700 last year for application, and Irene told me that they spent around $900 just as a point of data. Fee waivers, unfortunately, are not very accessible for international students. And even if you get the fee waiver, you are required to submit the application 2 to 3 weeks before December 1st, which is the general deadline. Again, as an international student, we have limited options from time to time. So if you do want to expand your options, you can take the GRE. Funding package does vary from program to program or even from PI to PI. Some PI have more funding than others. We have attached 2 spreadsheet here made from different group of people, and you can check it out when you get the slides. The stipend you receive during PhD program will likely to be less than 40K per year. I don't think I've ever heard people got beyond 40K in a psychology PhD program, but if they get it, that's great. In some places, you get much less than that, or you sometimes don't get a stipend at all, very unfortunately. So due to F1J1 restriction, once you're enrolled into a PhD program as a full-time student, you are not allowed to work outside of school unless that place is affiliated with your institute. And you probably won't have time to. So grad school application mostly accept unofficial transcript, which means it's free. But again, as I mentioned, if you have a non-English transcript, please do save time and money to get it evaluated and translated. Another thing that people don't consider too much before they apply is traveling to conferences. So traveling to conferences also involve money and visa consideration because a lot of travel funds are not available for international students. So many of us are paying out of pocket. And if you're passport or visa expired, which I did before, please do not travel outside of US. So you are legal to stay here because you have an effective I-20. But if you go outside of US, I-20 does not grant you re-entry to the US. And circle back to this very important point, international students are not eligible for any federal funding. However, we'll still get some other opportunities that I will show you later. So this is one of the spreadsheet I attached to the slides before. You will see some of the stipend from the grad student who reported it. You can see all kinds of school. I do want to remind you that this sheet could be outdated. As according to my knowledge, at least the Rutgers University stipend was way outdated because we had a strike not too long ago, and our stipend got raised up a lot. So be mindful that the data might not be very recent. And also, some very good people made the list of fellowships that you can apply for, and I'm going to show it briefly to you, and you can look at it after you have the slides. After you know all the indicators that I presented, some of you might not feel very ready for grad school. So what can you do? The first question I hope you to ask yourself is, what do you hope to get more? Some people's concern is more about GPA or blending into this cultural environment, gaining research or clinical experiences, blah, blah, blah. So please make sure you have, again, your goals well settled. And as international students, there are several different scenarios. First of all, if you're graduating with a degree in the US or your home country and you have absolutely no research experience or research mentors, I really recommend, if you are from a non-STEM program in the US or you came directly from your home country, please consider the post-bachelor or post-bac programs or master's program for maintaining student visa while gaining experiences. If you graduate from a STEM program in the US, you can consider volunteer at a research lab first because you don't have to pay tuition, and also you have 2 years of time after your graduation. If you're graduating with a degree in the US or in your home country, and you have some level of research or clinical experiences, if you came directly from your home country, I hope you can consider also the master's program for maintaining student visa and further develop your profile. However, if you are in the US programs, please consider post-bac research positions. They are paid, and also they really expose you to a lot of research tasks, and a lot of people get to do their independent research when they're in those positions. And again, being in the STEM program can grant you for 2 to 3 years of full-time job, while non-STEM program only grant you for 1 year of full-time working. If you have non-psychology related degree programs or any other situation, feel free to reach out to me after the workshop and we can talk about what are the options for you. And some of you might feel like you're ready. So what's next? You can start searching for programs. Yay! And you can start searching for PIs that really fit your interests. However, do keep in mind that only go for APA or PCSAS accredited program because it ensure your licensure and work opportunities after your graduation. If you're working or studying the field already, ask your current mentor for any PI or program recommendation. And make sure your PIs of interest are accepting students. This is usually not in anyone's control, nor not even in PI's control some of the times. However, a lot of them do indicate if they're taking student around October, which is now. So please do check the website. And it's good to email them and ask if you can't find the information anywhere. There are some unfortunate cases. People decided to not take student after you submit the application. And I'm very sorry for that, and we have nothing to do with it. But just try your best to gather that information beforehand. And good news is people are working to make the application process more transparent. I do know some people started a form for PIs to fill out so they can generate a centralized database to see who's taking student that year. Okay, this is an insider's guide to graduate programs in clinical and counseling psychology. I myself found my programs or the programs I applied to in this book. So if you're currently in a higher education institute, it is very likely that you will get free access from your online library. So do search for that. And it includes, I believe, almost all the clinical and counseling doctoral programs in the US, which is like 320 programs. And you can see how many pages there are. It's like 250 pages. Pretty crazy. And I'm going to show one demonstration. This is one page sample from the guide. And for Rutgers University, for example, you can find the spectrum of orientation of the program. So you can see we are more of research oriented, and you can also see the division that the faculties are working on, and also what are the requirements, some admission data, student body composition, and some of them do provide you with information about if they have stipend and full tuition waiver. So that's something I personally feel very helpful. And be mindful that if you're choosing a graduate program, you're also choosing a lifestyle. So some questions to consider are here. First of all, is this area safe and friendly to international folks? You want to pay attention to the safety around the area and if the school has any DEI support for you. Also, will you be able to build communities around this area? Food option is one of the most important things to me. I would love to have access to Chinese food and hot pots and stuff, and I will be very sad if they're not around. And also see the program has other international students and ask about their experiences. Also, does this area require a car? Some of you will come directly from your home country and might not want to buy a car just right off the bat, and that's totally fine, but you just need to do your research up beforehand. Also, is there funding available for international student in this program? Some programs do provide travel funds for international student and local students, so we also want to know that. Most of the master's program, unfortunately, are not funded. And you could check our previous slides about PhD to see some programs are funded or not. Most importantly, please ask people, please ask the International Student Office or the admission department about if they fund international student or not. Also, is this program STEM? Again, STEM programs will grant you opportunity to work full-time up to 3 years, while non-STEM program will only grant you 1 year after graduation. So for counseling master's program, only 6 programs are STEM. And for PhD programs, please do Google their code of program, or you can email the International Student Office to figure that out. Also, around the area, do they have any non-federal opportunities? Unfortunately, non-citizens or non-permanent residents are not eligible for any federal internship sites, so such as VA. And internship is closely related to your degree and licensure. So please be sure you have other options than federal opportunities. I want to go a little bit deeper in the STEM code. So this US government provided something called classification of instructional programs, the CIP code. And usually you can Google it or email the International Student Office for that. Please make sure you get the code and then match with the codes that the US government provide. And if you were able to match them, congratulations, you found a STEM program. And if you want to check if your current program is STEM or not, you can find it on your I-20. All right, we have very limited time. So for those who are able to stay for a little bit extra time, please do so. But for those who need to run, you can watch the recording later. All right, so for a clinical psychology PhD, you do have a lot of application materials that you hope to get ready. So CV transcript, statement of purpose, letters of recommendation. Some school requires diversity statement, writing sample, clinical statement, which is a statement that you describe what kind of clinician you want to be. And some schools still require GRE. There are some extra materials for international students only, basically a language test, and some application portal require you to demonstrate your ability to write English, which is a little bit weird, but basically you can copy and paste your SOP there, so you don't have to write anything extra. Let's go into CV and transcript first. So CV is a comprehensive and organized list of your professional experiences. And it's not necessarily longer the better. You do have to be careful not to be too worried. And for transcript, and for people who are concerned about their GPA less than 3.5 is not the end of the world by any chance. You can either explain the reason of why you have such GPA, or you can ask your recommender to touch on it, such as, oh, I was sick during this semester, so that's why I have this GPA, blah, blah, blah. So don't be too anxious about your GPA. Also again, non-English transcript, please save time and money to do evaluation and translation. Statement of purpose. A lot of people ask questions about this. This is the material that reviewers spend most time of their time reviewing, for sure. Across program, across PI, I heard the exact same thing. They are going to spend hours and hours on reviewing this. And it is a 750 to 1,000 word professional statement. It is not personal statement. And please save time, at least 6 weeks. So please start now for your SOP and have multiple people review or revise it. Statement of purpose should be a narrative of your professional trajectory, and it is not a longer version of your CV. Please do not just simply list the experience that you have. Instead, tell a story. Why did you choose Lab A? Why did you choose to work there? And why did you have, oh, that's my timer. Sorry about that. And why did you jump to Lab B? Or why did you pick this independent project that you want to work on? And what did you do in your independent project? What was the result? What kind of analysis did you run? And what roles did you play in the publications listed on your CV? Most importantly, what is your research interest and how did that suggest the fit with your PI? And what is your career goal? Why do you want to get into a grad program? So all those essential questions should be answered in your statement of purpose. And I use should because they are essential. So please consider them. Please consider them before you write your statement of purpose. And if you don't have relevant research experiences, try to demonstrate your understanding of current literature and your ability to conceptualize a research question. Diversity statement. This is a new material for a lot of clinical psychology PhD programs. So statement of purpose, as I said before, was a professional statement, while diversity statement is a personal statement. So you will be able to get personal backgrounds in there. So some of the sample prompt, this is a prompt from University of Oregon. So it's like a 500-word statement. Please tell us how you will contribute based on your professional, volunteer, or life experiences to social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion in our department and university. So it is essentially asking how your personal, educational, cultural, family backgrounds shape your view of social justice and DEI, and what are the actionable ways you will contribute to social justice and DEI. So it is very important to check the program DEI website to see what initiatives they're already taking so that you can say in what way you can contribute to them. If you think about something that they don't have at the moment, please also state that in your diversity statement. And people will be like, oh, yeah, we want you, hopefully. And this is a great place to showcase your identities. For international students, you can talk about how your cross-cultural experiences impacted you. Of course, it is totally not necessary to talk about your immigration status. You can simply put it as cross-cultural lens instead of saying that I have visa concern or I am from another country. If you really concerned about being an international student will impact your application negatively, you can choose to only talk about cultural differences instead of immigration status, if that makes sense. All right. And letters of recommendation. So please request your letter at least 4 weeks in advance. All three letters again should speak about you as a person, and at least two of them should speak on your ability to conduct research. When you're writing your request email, please make sure you provide the following. First of all, most up-to-date CV, unofficial transcript. If you have a non-English transcript, don't worry about it. And very, very important thing that people don't provide in their email is a sheet of program and PIs that you're going to apply to and the application deadlines, which will mostly be December 1st. Some programs do have priority deadlines that is 2-3 weeks before December 1st. So if you want to submit your application by then, please make sure your recommenders are informed. Also, you want to provide a guidance on what you want them to speak about. Some of the PIs that I work with were like, we worked 2 years ago. So it is impossible for them to remember all of the details, all the tasks I work on. So do provide kind of like a brief description or even a bullet point, a list of bullet points for them to just have it handy. This is not micromanaging, by the way, you're just providing useful information. If you do have the statement of purpose draft already, great. That's very helpful for them because they will be able to tailor their letter to your research interests or to the research career that you hope to pursue. Your recommenders might ask you to draft the letter for you. This is not uncommon. I've heard many, many cases. So that's even more useful to have a bullet points and make sure you put all of your hard work and accomplishment on the list so that you can find a nice template and write it by yourself. There are some concerns about being too bold or being too show off in the letter that you write. Just write it first and send it to your recommender and see if they have any feedbacks for it. Usually, most of the case, they will be like, yeah, this is a great letter and sign on it. So don't worry too much about that. And some of the recommenders might want you to actually submit the letter for them. And this is more common in non-English speaking country. And it's fine. Like, please just try to work around it. You can create an email box for them. I heard cases like this and submit it to the portal. grad school interviews. For last year, I heard a lot about pre-interviews. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. Some PIs, not all, may receive a huge pool of applicants, such as they receive 200 to 300 people applying for their lab. And it is hard for them to pick people solely off paper. So after the initial round of interview, they try to decide to to see if they can pick people based on a meeting with them. So they could decide to meet with a smaller group of applicants. That's usually 10 to 20 people who really stood out and pick 2 to 3 candidates for official interview from this group. That being said, please treat pre-interview as serious as official interview because that really determines your chance of getting into the official interview, which is the pathway to admission. The timeline for pre-interview usually is 2 to 3 weeks after your submission. So I receive pre-interview requests about like 10 to 20 days after my submission. And some PI might reach out to you for a Zoom meeting or a phone call. So be sure to monitor your email box. There are a lot of situations when PI will not do pre-interview at all. And based on my knowledge, I believe Irene's PI that they applied to did not have the pre-interview system. So don't worry if you don't get any calls or don't get any emails. It's not the end of the world. However, to prepare for grad school interview, please make sure you read the PI's paper, you know what their lab is doing, you draft your question or you draft your elevator pitch, and you practice, 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 practice. What I mean by elevator pitch is you have a 2-minute brief self-introduction that includes who you are. So where do you graduate? What kind of work you're doing and what experience you had. Yes, within 2 minutes. So please do practice. And you want to provide the PI with a chance to ask you questions about how your experience is relevant to their work. So basically, you're providing a chance to describe your fit with the PI. Also, always have a list of questions to ask during the interview. And if you don't have any question to ask, that might be an indicator of you're not very interested in the PI or in the lab. So please, please, please do it. Please ask question. And after the interview, make sure you send a brief and personalized thank you email to the interviewer within 24 hours. And I say it for pre-interviews and for official interviews. If you're in a group interview, please make sure to do that too, even for interviewers that you barely spoke to. But yeah, just as a gesture. All right, so that is all my presentation. I wonder if any of you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A or chat. I'm going to stop the recording so that I can ensure your confidentiality. Thank you so much for your time.